Hello everyone, Saad here. In this video, I want to share a little bit about which direction I think the food sharing economy is going and how that's going to impact everyday passionate chefs and food entrepreneurs that own restaurants, food trucks, and catering companies. Um, so what's really happening is if you've seen the trend, especially with COVID, it's harder and harder for restaurant owners to hire staff, whether it be like front of house staff or back of house staff. Like people are just less inclined to work in the food industry and stick around with most restaurants. It's harder than it was 10 years ago. Yes, there's still a lot of opportunity out there to find the right people, and there's still a lot of opportunity for the right people to find the right restaurants. But what I'm finding is there's just so much opportunity out there for everyday chefs to basically go out on their own and make more money out there on their own quicker and do less work than they would have working for somebody else, right? Like for example, meal prep, which is what we've been specializing in. I really believe that meal prep is the best food business model out there in 2023. It's because it allows everyday passionate chefs that love cooking but are tired of just being a cog in a machine, where they can't even test their creativity, they can't experiment with food. They're just on basically a conveyor belt and doing production really quickly for a boss that's making a majority of the profits. So what we're finding is that these everyday chefs, they started off at home typically just selling to their neighborhood, and most of them didn't even realize but they were meal prepping until meal prep basically started picking up steam back in 2016, 2017. If you put in meal prep on Google Trends worldwide, or US or Canada, it doesn't really matter, you'll see it's been like a hockey stick sort of growth, exponential, since 2016, and it most recently hit its peak in 2023 January. So I really believe that passionate chefs are gonna start working for themselves. They're gonna make more money, and there's business models out there that allow them to do that without having to, get a $50 or $100 or $200,000 as a startup budget to start. Like they no longer need to buy a food truck. They no longer need to buy a business and make it a restaurant, or lease a spot and put in all the equipment and turn it into a restaurant or a takeout spot. There's just so much opportunity out there with like commissary kitchens where they can rent a kitchen, be fully licensed, have their food handlers licensed, and just basically start selling people in their own community and get to $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 a month with practically no overhead, and pay for these commissary kitchens after they've made money and they've collected pre-orders. So I think there's a lot of opportunity out there for chefs particularly, and I think that's the direction that chefs are going to be heading. I think it's going to be harder and harder to sustain these bloated businesses like most restaurants, not all restaurants, but most restaurants. I think the restaurants that are going to survive are the restaurants that really deliver an experience. If it's just a commodity-based restaurant that just sells food for a cost-effective price, I think they're going to struggle to continue to be profitable come 2024, over the next decade at least. Catering companies, same thing. Catering companies are so volatile. They have their seasonal, winters are slow, summers are good, there's the wedding season. And catering companies, there's just so much competition now. Every food entrepreneur that wanted to start typically starts a catering company. And there's so much competition, it's like a red ocean. Basically everybody's competing for the same basically audience, the same customer. Whereas meal prep is still something that's brand new and it's trending, especially when you've got a special cuisine. Like if you have like homemade, home style food from a particular country that just how to cook really well, there's gonna be no other meal prep business in your community, like 30, 45, 50 mile radius, that's currently doing this. So it's a lot easier to get market share because, quite frankly, you're the only one that's offering it. So I'd encourage chefs to start looking into opportunities where they can work for themselves, whether that be meal prep or another business model. And I do think that restaurants need to pivot, and catering companies need to pivot to basically incentivize people to work for them, and also figure something out, figure an efficiency out where they can make those bigger margins. Because if it just becomes a commodity based business, it's going to be, you have to pay people more now than ever before. Labor costs more, food costs are going higher and higher. It's basically demanding the food industry to become more efficient, or else the profits are going to get wiped out and these businesses are going to start falling left and right. And this is post COVID. This COVID did have an impact, an everlasting impact. Like, customer behaviors changed. People like buying more online. They like using their apps. Even the apps like take 30%. So the restaurant industry is really taking a hit. And I think if they don't pivot or innovate, there's just not going to be enough profits. So hopefully you found this of value, and yeah, thank you for watching. Please subscribe and like the video if you liked it. Please share your comments if you disagree with me. Comment down that you disagree if you agree. Let me know what you agree about, and look forward to seeing you on the next video.